Hey everybody, welcome to another drive-through rundown. Today I'm going to talk about Zulus on the Ramparts. It features the Battle of Rorke's Drift in 1879. This is sort of a Alamo type of situation where you've got the British soldiers holed up in this encampment and several thousand Zulu warriors trying to take over that encampment and sack it, basically. Now, I initially picked this up based on a review by Marco Arnaudo, which I'm sure anybody watching my videos has heard of. So I've had this for quite a while, actually, and then I noticed the other day that this is on the short list of games to be re-implemented with the board and thicker chits and everything. So I thought, well, let me do a quick review of this, and the components may not be what you will see in the future at the time of making this video, but the gameplay should be pretty much the same. So in preparation for the video, I actually played this a couple of times today to sort of refresh my memory, and I had the best victory that I've ever had playing the game. There's a couple of different levels based on the amount of victory points, based on the situation at the end of the game. You can have like a severe loss or a major victory or something of that sort. So you can see here in the middle, we've got the encampment here where the British soldiers are trying to defend. You've got some different flanks that the Zulu warriors are going to be approaching on. And here you can see one of the Zulu companies encroaching here. You've got the Chit there. You've got the number of hit points. You can see that there, 3 plus the actual token itself as a hit point. And then you'll go and put these markers on at the start of the game. And then as you damage it, you'll pull these off. And then finally, once you damage it with no markers, you can remove it from the game. These will actually be moving up, as I said, based on a Chit pull. And so you may pull a Chit and it'll tell you which flank to move up. And then these are going to move up. If they ever get to your 0 spot at the beginning of the game, they're going to win the game. However, this Chit here will be in the middle, and you can actually build barricades and sort of back this up. So as they come in the center here, you can actually sort of push the Zulu victory kind of away from the invading armies. So the first thing that's going to happen on a turn is you're going to pull a Chit. And here's some of the examples of the Chits that you can pull. Now most of them are going to look like this. It's going to tell you which flank is going to move. So you can see there's 4 flanks. We've got the 2 left and right arrows, and then sort of the skinny bar and the fat bar. So if I had pulled this Chit here, the flank associated with this bar would actually move up 3 spaces. Whereas this one here, you can see that one, each of the flanks will move up 1 space. And there's also some special event Chits that you can draw. You can see this one's called a building on fire. This one's the rifle's overheated. This is a seniority debate, which kind of wastes your turn. Basically, it's sort of the British troops sort of having a little, internal strife. Zulu snipers, and these are all outlined in the rulebook. I'm not going to get into them in too much detail. Basically, you pull that, look it up in the rulebook, and it's very simple. So all of these are going to be in a cup of some sort. You pull one of those and then do whatever it says. So players are going to start the game with a hand of cards, 3 specific cards to be exact. And here's one type of card of the hand that I had at the end of the game. I had a bunch of these volley cards. You can tell by the gray title at the top. And you can see here, if you play one of these and put these in the discard pile, then you can do an attack on the enemy. So you'll go over here and you'll target one of the enemies moving along one of these tracks here, like so. And then based on how close they are, you're going to roll different dice. So you can see there's different types of volleys that you can use. And given the situation out on the board there, you may want to hold on to certain cards as enemies are approaching, etc. So if I were to pick this one here, anything that I could target somebody that was in a close box, roll 4 dice. Then at the top of the board, you can see we have this little table here. So basically a 1, 2, 3, and a 4 will be a miss unless the opposing army is in a burning building, and then a 4 will actually be a retreat. And then a 5 is a retreat, and a 6 is a hit. And then if you do a retreat, they'll just move back here, and if it's a hit, you take off the little hit point marker. So some other types of cards that you may have in your hand are going to be these sort of key people, and these are actual people that were in this battle. And you can see some of these have medals on them, and some of these are corporals, and then privates and sergeants and things. Now these can be played for their volleys, and their volleys are usually a little bit better than the basic volleys for the most part. There are some special, just volley cards that are very special, but have a little bit of a drawback to playing them. So you can play these for the volleys. You can either play them out of your hand and discard them, or one action that you can do is actually place one of these heroes in front of you. And then each of them has some different text on them that you're able to do, usually for free, or maybe at the cost of discarding them or something of that sort. So after pulling a Chit and then moving one of the armies there on the board, you have the option of taking an action. So you're going to draw the chit, you're going to implement the chit, and then you're going to take one of the actions. The first action you could do is basically fire a volley, and then you can also put forth a hero. Well, you can see here's the heroes I had at the end of the game put forth. So I would take a hero out of my hand and put it in front of me, and then that would be my action. That's all I would do. But what you're doing is you're trying to prepare for later turns and get these in a situation where you maybe use some of their special actions or use them in some of the spaces over here on the board. So let's talk about the rest of these actions. You can form a platoon, construct a barricade, fight a building fire, or distribute ammo. So first we'll talk about building a barricade. And as I said earlier, when you build a barricade, you're basically trying to be pushing this victory marker away from the encroaching Zulu armies. So to build a barricade, to start building a barricade, you'll have to take one of your available lieutenants or sergeants. So you take that from the board in front of you, place that there, and then you're going to start building the barricade. You can see that's 1/3 done. So that's your action for the turn. This is actually going to take 3 turns. So on a future turn, I could take the action again, flip that over, and now it's 2/3 done. Then I can take a final action and build it. This will go away. This will actually go back into my hand. And then once I've built the barricade, I'll take and push this back. And then to push it back to the final readout here, then I'd have to go through those 3 turns again and get that pushed away. But this is something you want to try to do early in the game, especially as the Zulu units are going to be starting further away and they're not going to be so close to victory. The next thing that you want to try to do early in the game is distribute ammo and water. Now this little marker is actually going to start the game on the board here in its little spot. So this is going to be a -1 die roll modifier. So remember, on a 5 is a retreat and a 6 is a hit, but at the start of the game you're going to reduce your die roll by 1 every single time. So quickly what you'll want to do is get rid of this. And again, you'll need to have a available hero in front of you, and then you take this and put it back into your hand, and then you can remove the marker like so, and then you no longer have the negative die roll modifier. Next we have the reserve platoon here. And you can see this one requires 1 lieutenant and 1 sergeant. Well, what that space is for is to give you the ability to use these commit the reserve platoon. And so these are very, very high die roll attacks that you can use as a volley. But you can only do these if you have a committed reserve platoon. So if I had a lieutenant and a sergeant for my action, I could put them there. And then I could put the reserve platoon marker there, and that gives me the capability of using those 2 high power cards. Again, something you want to try to do early, but this one you don't really necessarily have to do that early in the game, I don't believe. Finally, the last action may be to put out a fire. Now again, when you draw this building on fire chart, you're going to roll a die, and possibly one of 2 buildings is going to catch fire. So you've got your storehouse here, and then you've got the hospital here. And based on the die roll, one of these may or may not set fire. So then you can use an action then, and then set fire, or try to put out the fire. Now it's going to cost you a card to put back in your hand. But the funny thing is when it turns to nighttime, you want to have these fires running actually. So the game is going to start off in the day, and then about halfway through the deck of cards that you're going to be drawing from, you're going to get to nighttime. This is going to flip over. And this is actually going to have a -1 die roll modifier if no buildings are on fire, because it's night and you're not going to be able to see the encroaching warriors. So in that case, you may actually want to have a fire. Now the main reason that you would not want to have a fire is if you look at these volley cards here, you can see that you can fire at anything in the 1, 2, or 3 box. But if they're on the outskirts here, you're not going to be able to fire at them. So as they get closer, you're going to have a little bit of time to prepare. But if a building is on fire, for example on this track here at the hospital, if somebody's here at the 3 and the 2, you're not going to be able to fire past that flaming building to be able to hit them. You're going to have to wait until they get into that building. Now the nice thing is when a chit is pulled that would move this army into a flaming building, they're going to stop no matter what. Even if it told them to move like 3 times and would go past that, they're going to stop. And you get a little bit of a bonus that you can actually you make them retreat on a 4. But it's difficult to be able to keep them sort of away from you if there's a building on fire. So you do want to put those out. And if you have any buildings on fire at the end of the game, they're going to hurt you in terms of victory points. Finally, at the end of the turn, you're going to go ahead and draw a card. So in this case, I've got the game finished. There's only 1 card left. So there's a big old deck of cards here, and somewhere in the last 4 or 5 cards is going to be this relief column. When you pull that, you basically waited out the Zulu attack for 1 day and 1 night, and then you've won, and you're going to calculate your victory points. But there's a whole mess of cards. There's these some special event cards. There's some volley cards. There's heroes. And then again, the nighttime card will be shuffled about halfway through the deck. So you're always going to draw a card and add sort of, some capabilities and resources for you to be able to use. So here's a commissary. He's got a fairly even-keeled volley die roll for 1, 2, and 3, and then he's got some other abilities like so. So again, you're going to draw a card after taking your action. And then after you draw a card, you can actually put out a hero for free at the end of your turn that you can maybe use for next turn. So again, you can always put them out for an action, but then at the end of the turn, you're also going to have the ability to put them out for free. After drawing a card and possibly putting a hero out for free, you've got a maximum hand size of 5. You've got to discard down to 5. Unless you're lucky like me and get this guy super early in the game, and he basically nullifies the hand limit and you don't have a hand limit at all. So you can kind of build up some nice reserves with this guy here. Color Sergeant Bourne, my favorite person. So that's the gist of the game. You're going to pull a chit, you're going to do whatever it says, you're going to play it out. There may be some chits that will cause everybody to recover, maybe stop the battle for a little bit, some other special events. Most of the time you're just going to be moving up these tracks, and then you're going to get an action. You can try to put out a fire, build barricades, create the platoon, maybe play a volley card and roll some dice, and then draw a card, and then possibly play out a hero for free. You keep doing that until you find the relief column marker, or more likely the Zulus will get to your inside of your defenses and immediately win. Or it's feasible, I guess, I've never done this, to actually eliminate all of the Zulus encroaching. I think you'd have to be very, very lucky on your die rolls to be able to get that to happen. And then at the end of the game, if you won, I guess if you lost you could check too, but I don't even bother. You can add up all your victory points here based on different situations on the board. And then at the bottom here, you can see where your victory points sort of fell out here. And my victory I had earlier today was a major British victory. I believe I had 37 or 38 points there. I've never got the epic yet. Most of the time I'm less than 15. So in terms of victory points, what you're going to count up is eliminated armies, eliminated hits are also going to count. You're going to get points if buildings are not on fire. You're also going to get points for having a certain number of heroes in front of you. Heroes with medals are going to be worth a little bit more. But the thing is you really want to use these guys, and a lot of their abilities, you're going to tell you to discard it and put them in the discard pile to not be used. So there are some heroes that will they'll let you do extra actions or extra abilities if you take them back into your hand and then play them out. But there's a little bit of sort of decision making that has to happen there. Whether I use somebody quickly for a nice volley, some nice die rolling, or I get them out and for something later. But if it gets to the point where your defeat is imminent, you're gonna find it very difficult to be able to have any time to prepare and set up a proper defense. So you've really got to sort of try to manage your hand of cards and use them in the best way possible. Because again, you only get one action. You can only fire a volley, or put a hero out. Again, you get the free hero at the end of the turn. But and a lot of these other actions up here are going to require heroes to be used. So even though there's a lot of cards in there, and you're pretty much going to be able to use all of these cards, you're not going to really have a ton of cards left over to be able to do anything great with. Just quick thoughts on the game. I think this is one of my favorite States of Siege solitaire games from Victory Point games. I think the other one that is in the running is still Autumn and Sunset. I have maybe a soft spot in my heart for that one. I really enjoy that one. And I played a handful of others, probably 3 or 4 others. And this one's definitely at the top of the list. This is the only one that I know of that really features card play. And it feels almost like a CDG in a way. The cards have multiple effects. You can play them for, attacks, and the heroes you can play for attacks or their effect. And you can either pull them into your hand and discard them. So it has a nice feel. And this one actually plays very quickly. After sort of getting back on the bicycle here, I was able to finish the game in like 20 minutes or so. And it can end even quicker, especially if the Zulus get a quick victory. So I'm actually excited to see what the components will look like. I find the graphic design of the counters and the board especially, the map I should say, to be very pleasing, and the cards very straightforward and easy to read. So it'll be nice to see what they do with sort of a enhanced set of components. Okay, thanks.